What is the very first memory you have from childhood? Was it a cherished moment or a painful scene? Perhaps it was one of the bedtime stories whispered by your parents, or the lingering fear after a seemingly endless argument, or an explosive outburst of anger. Childhood is not just a time of innocent play, it is a tapestry of experiences, sometimes beautiful, sometimes hurtful, that shape the deepest corridors of our soul. What we call childhood trauma is perhaps the darkest thread woven into that tapestry. Whether we are aware of it or not, it can later emerge in our adult selves as the seed of an inner conflict. Have you ever looked back at your life and wondered why you sometimes feel sudden bursts of anger or inexplicable vulnerability? These reactions may be rooted in the memories you experienced or witnessed as a child, memories that might have taken up more space in your mind than they deserved. And what about that emotional emptiness, the feeling of being unvalued or even witnessing physical or emotional abuse? It sounds heavy, doesn't it? But know this, if you experience such things, it was not your fault. So don't blame yourself. Think about it. The way the adults who cared for you acted and the conditions of your environment laid the foundation for your sense of self. And sometimes that foundation is riddled with cracks deeper than we imagine. As we grow up, we might tell ourselves, those days are behind me, so why should they still affect me? Yet, painful experiences from the past, especially those from childhood, leave an imprint on our subconscious even if they have been forgotten or suppressed. This imprint can later surface in our behavior, emotional reactions, or relationships as a partner, a parent, a friend, or even in the workplace. You might ask, is the problem within me? Perhaps it is, but that isn't a bad thing. On the contrary, realizing that the problem exists within you is the first step toward change and growth. Accepting it and reflecting on it will propel you further. Sometimes an inner voice might whisper, what if I never want to reopen those old wounds? Isn't it easier to pretend I'm healed rather than risk feeling the pain all over again? Such doubts are natural, yet that deceptive comfort can, over time, silently erode your spirit. Childhood trauma in this way can unknowingly leave you feeling helpless, sabotaging your relationships with yourself and the world. Take a moment now and ask yourself, is there a part of me, a child I have long ignored or been afraid to face, that still cries out within? Even if simply asking that question stirs excitement or fear inside you, it means you are on the right path. True change begins with uncomfortable questions. Childhood trauma isn't always about overt injuries or extreme scenes. Of course, severe cases like physical, emotional, or sexual abuse are unmistakable forms of trauma. Yet there are more invisible wounds that hurt just as deeply. For example, constant criticism or being told you'll never be anyone can make a child feel worthless. Not receiving the care, having your feelings dismissed, or having your sense of security shattered. These are experiences that scream in silence deep within the soul. Why call them silent screams? Because as children, we are not yet mature enough to defend ourselves or even name our trauma. In trying to make sense of what is happening, we often conclude, maybe I'm just a bad kid. This thought can later morph into a belief that I am not good enough, I don't deserve love. And those silent echoes sometimes follow us into adulthood. They might resurface unexpectedly under the guise of anxiety, depression, anger management issues, avoidance of close relationships, or performance anxiety. Across the globe, many well-known individuals have grown up with childhood traumas. If you examine the biographies of famous musicians, movie stars, or writers, you may often find experiences of abusive parents, poverty, or a lack of love. For instance, consider whether the angry presence of a famous rock star on stage is merely an artistic choice or a manifestation of the emotional neglect he suffered as a child. Think about it. Even in mythology, similar stories are told. In ancient Greek mythology, The tale of Cronus devouring his children symbolically portrays a parent's hostile attitude toward his offspring, a dramatic metaphor for the violation of a child's fundamental need to be kept safe. It is a profound trauma when the one who should provide security instead becomes a source of fear. Yet trauma does not always arrive in such dramatic fashion. Sometimes a busy or indifferent parent leaves a child feeling lonely. Other times, a child grows up under an overly controlling parent who makes decisions for them and suppresses their feelings. In the end, the child learns, "I cannot make my own choices. I am not a real individual." As the years pass, that child may become an adult who struggles to express themselves, constantly seeks approval, or even becomes rebellious and obstinate. Reflect for a moment. What silent screams from my childhood still echo within me? Don't rush to answer. Perhaps the answer will reveal itself unexpectedly years later. Merely asking the question is the first step in no longer suppressing that cry for help. Memory is a fascinating phenomenon. Traumatic or distressing experiences can be completely buried or remain as fragmented memories in our consciousness. Imagine a child who was constantly criticized. Their family always expected more, and love seemed contingent upon success. As an adult, you may present yourself as successful and disciplined, yet internally a voice might whisper that you were never good enough, always urging you to do more. That inner dialogue is the trace of childhood trauma carried into the present. Some people, for example, experience an overwhelming need for control in relationships, becoming excessively jealous or terrified of being alone. Perhaps they never experienced a secure bond with a loving and supportive parent, and in trying to fill that void, they end up suffocating their partners or constantly fearing abandonment. On the other hand, some avoid emotional closeness entirely, having built walls after severe childhood disappointments and neglect. Isn't it striking how these silent imprints from the past seep into our lives? Each of us develops our own coping mechanisms. Some turn to books, others to sports, or even to relentless pursuit of fun. Yet these strategies, although temporarily soothing, might eventually lead to an emotional dead end. Think about it. In which areas of my life am I acting out of the fear or deficiency I experienced as a child? Answering that may not be easy, but even the attempt to understand it is a significant step toward transformation. Perhaps even while watching this video, you recall specific moments from your childhood. The way your parents behaved, how a teacher treated you at school, instances of peer bullying, or that day when you felt utterly alone. Instead of dismissing these memories, consider them as messages that can spark your own transformation. Many of us wear masks in our daily lives. We go to work, chat with friends, or post happy photos on social media, and on the surface, everything seems fine. But is it really? Those who have endured childhood trauma often try hard not to let their inner conflict show. Discussing such issues can be so difficult, mixed with shame or guilt, that we prefer to keep our struggles hidden. Yet beneath that mask, when we lie awake at night or find ourselves alone, the pain of our wounded inner child emerges. Often we are the only ones who can hear that quiet cry. Wearing a mask is not always a conscious choice. Society's expectations, the desire to appear strong and flawless, and even our own need to convince ourselves that we are over it can compel us to hide our true feelings. But trauma expresses itself in myriad ways, through hypersensitivity, intolerance for criticism, controlling behavior, overdependence on others' approval, fear of taking risks, or conversely, engaging in reckless behavior. Which of these masks might you be wearing? Consider film characters like Batman, who, after witnessing the death of his parents at a young age, transforms that immense loss into the driving force of his journey to become a hero. Yet, as Bruce Wayne, he battles profound loneliness, a dark inner self, and deep-seated insecurity. Though advised to find a purpose and overcome the trauma, the pain never fully disappears. It is merely redirected, Doesn't this mirror real life? Emotional pain can drive us to survive and fight, but without sufficient compassion and deliberate effort, it may never truly heal. Experiences of neglect, pressure, or abandonment in childhood can manifest in countless ways later in life. It is often surprising to discover that a person who appears perpetually cheerful and positive is, in fact, carrying an indescribable sorrow inside. They might cling to the belief that they must constantly project positive energy to be loved. At this point, ask yourself, which masks am I wearing and which true emotions am I hiding? Don't be afraid to question this. Perhaps in the hustle of life, you have come to mistake your protective mask for your real self. Removing that mask might be the first step toward liberation. Even if it is daunting, the freedom it brings is immense. Ancient myths and modern films offer powerful reflections of childhood trauma. In myth, for instance, the story of Cronus devouring his children illustrates, in symbolic form, how a parent's own fears can result in the destruction of what they should nurture. Similarly, in Egyptian mythology, the tale of Osiris, murdered by Set and later resurrected by his son Horus, can be seen as a metaphor for reclaiming the parts of ourselves lost in childhood. These narratives remind us that trauma can be a source of both pain and strength. In cinema, characters like Harry Potter, who lost his parents as a baby and endured a loveless upbringing, embody both the weight of loss and the potential to harness that pain into extraordinary resilience. Some people manage to transform their childhood trauma into creativity, endurance, and empathy, while others may remain trapped in a cycle of self-destruction. What makes the difference is often the internal and external resources available to them. A support system, a trustworthy friend, a mentor, or a therapist, helping them confront and channel their trauma into transformative power. For those who feel alone, too afraid to speak, or burdened by shame, the journey is undoubtedly more arduous. Who are we, if not the sum of our past experiences? Asking, "Who am I?" is an essential part of understanding our childhood trauma. Acknowledging the trauma, rather than denying or feeling ashamed of it, is a critical step toward healing. Admitting, "I went through that, it affected me, and I still feel its traces," might be frightening, but think, if I don't confront my fears, can I ever truly free myself from them? The initial phase of this journey often involves recalling and talking about painful memories, which can trigger feelings of sorrow, anger, or grief. This is normal, for childhood trauma frequently instills a sense of powerlessness and vulnerability. Reconnecting with that wounded child and offering them compassion may be challenging, yet remember that child is no longer alone. Today, you are the adult capable of caring for that child with love and kindness. Therapy and professional support are immensely valuable here. While sharing with friends or family might open a door, a trained professional can help you navigate the depths of your trauma in a safer space. Through therapy, you can learn to label your emotions, recognize your triggers, and develop healthy coping strategies. It is an inner journey that demands patience. You might feel tempted to retreat or shut the door again, but take a deep breath and remind yourself that discomfort is part of the process of change. Another way to face yourself is through mindfulness and meditation. Keeping a journal and writing about your emotions, even if just for 10 minutes a day, can gradually unveil recurring patterns you were unaware of. Over time, you may begin to see how your current reactions are echoes of childhood scripts, such as "I am not safe" or "I must be perfect." One of the most critical aspects of transformation is showing compassion to yourself. Perhaps you never received that understanding from others as a child, so now you can offer it to yourself. What happened wasn't my fault. I did the best I could back then, and now I have the chance to transform that pain. In everyday life, practical steps can spark profound change. First, identify what triggers your emotions. Maybe a minor critique from a friend or a stern look from a boss that inexplicably brings you back to childhood fears. Keeping a journal to track these triggers can help you notice patterns, such as realizing you fear criticism because your father always put you down. This awareness can protect you from reacting impulsively. When anger, anxiety, or fear suddenly overwhelm you, try a simple breathing exercise. Inhale through your nose for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and exhale through your mouth for 4 seconds. This practice can calm your mind and help you question, is this reaction about what's happening now, or is it an echo of past pain? Build a reliable support system, a friend, family member, or therapist with whom you can share your thoughts and feelings. If you've had your boundaries violated in the past, it's crucial now to set and maintain personal boundaries. If someone speaks to you disrespectfully, calmly, but firmly assert that such behavior is unacceptable, this not only protects you now, but reinforces that you have the power to defend yourself as an adult. Reward yourself for every small achievement. Recognize that every effort, no matter how minor, is a victory. A reminder that you value yourself not for your perfection, but for your perseverance. And always pause to ask yourself, is this strong reaction truly about the present moment? Or is it a reverberation of old pain? Sometimes the journey involves asking yourself deep, personal questions. Questions like, what am I truly feeling, and where did that feeling originate? Do I hide my emotions from others because I fear appearing weak? Which memory still haunts me? Or how do my actions sabotage my own success due to lingering fears? And most importantly, what would I say to the child I once was if I could comfort them now? As you consider these questions, you might find tears welling up or anger rising, yet also a profound sense of relief. Let your emotions come without judgment, as if you were an experiment in your own inner laboratory, and observe them with kindness. Denying these feelings or blaming yourself will only delay healing. Childhood trauma not only affects your inner world, but it can also impact your relationships, career, and even your physical health. You might struggle with trust or self-worth, constantly fearing rejection or exposure. In some cases, people develop addictions, whether to substances, food, gambling, or even chaotic relationships, as a way to numb the pain. Chronic stress from unaddressed trauma can even weaken your immune system, reminding us that the mind and body are deeply intertwined. Yet, recognizing this impact offers an opportunity. If you can understand and confront your trauma, you have the power to reshape your future. This is the promise of personal transformation. By healing your wounds, you create a healthier life for yourself and for those you love. You can become a more patient, understanding, and fearless partner, a more creative and effective professional, and most importantly, a person at peace with who they are. Professional help, whether through individual therapy, EMDR, cognitive behavioral therapy, or psychodynamic approaches, can be a crucial part of this healing process. Joining support groups or workshops, or even educating yourself through books and online resources can expand your horizons and introduce you to techniques like body awareness, breathing exercises, or art therapy. Learning to be gentle with yourself and to parent your inner child is at the heart of recovery. Perhaps you can set aside a quiet space at home, review old photos, and allow the warm memories of your childhood to emerge alongside the painful ones. Forgiveness, both of yourself and others, can lift the heavy weight of the past, even if that journey is long and gradual. Every step you take not only transforms your own life, but also contributes to a collective healing. When you mend your childhood wounds, you become a more compassionate parent, friend, or community member, sparking a chain reaction of empathy and understanding that can extend far beyond your own experience. At its core, life is a continuous flow of change and transformation. Even the most painful experiences, like childhood trauma, can eventually lead us to a higher level of consciousness if we work through them. Facing your past can open up deep wells of understanding and compassion that change not only how you interact with others, but even how you view the world. We are all interconnected, and every step you take toward healing not only benefits you, it contributes to the collective evolution of humanity. Perhaps you feel uneasy at the thought that the problem is within me, but recognizing this is an opportunity, a chance to break free from the chains of your past and take control of your future. Ask yourself, do I have the power to recreate my past, understand my present self, and shape the person I want to be in the future? Even if you're not sure, that uncertainty can be the spark that ignites your quest for transformation. Take a moment now to reflect on your life. Do you feel stuck in your past, or are you ready to reclaim your power? Write down your thoughts, share them with someone you trust, or consider reaching out for professional help. Remember, healing is not about erasing the pain, but transforming it into a source of strength and wisdom. I hope these words serve as a spark in your journey with childhood trauma. May the questions posed here awaken something within you, urging you to listen to your inner voice. Healing is possible, change is possible, and you deserve it. Are you ready to take the next step? The choice is yours. Now think about your childhood trauma, not as an unchangeable burden, but as a challenge that, once confronted, can transform both your inner self and humanity at large. Embrace the possibility of turning pain into power. Remember, every small step in healing can create a ripple effect, touching not only your life, but also the lives of future generations. Think about it.